Deep beneath the surface, where walls are reinforced with alloys no civilian language can name, the Earth's Defense Council gathered inside their forbidden war room. Red tactical lights pulse against steel tables, global schematics flickered across holographic displays, and the air carried a heavy silence of decisions that could tilt entire eras. In that room, names were never spoken. Rank replaced identity. Protocol replaced emotion. Everything was cold, calculated, stripped of humanity. Until the moment you stepped into Destiny's timeline. Something shifted in that chamber without your presence being physically there. Advisors leaned over maps. Strategists analyzed data streams. Analysts interpreted atmospheric signals. Then the general raised his hand, stopping the entire room with a single motion. The silence that followed wasn't ordinary. It felt like the air itself was bracing for what he was about to say. Slowly, deliberately, the general spoke 2 words that froze every heartbeat in that chamber. Keep an eye on him. No name should have been spoken in that room, but yours was. And the moment it was, every protocol trembled. When the general spoke your name, the war room screens reacted before any human could. Digital maps spanning continents, oceans, and classified territories flickered as if hit by an invisible surge. At first, the analysts thought it was a technical fault, an overloaded grid, or a temporary interference. But the glitch didn't affect the entire system. It affected one location only, the city you were born in. On the global projection, your birthplace pulsed red, not in warning, not in danger, but in recognition. The software attempted to categorize the anomaly, but failed with every algorithm it tried. Population data scrambled. Atmospheric readings froze. The digital terrain grid distorted for 0.4 seconds, bending inward like the map itself was acknowledging a presence that didn't belong to ordinary classification. One of the tactical officers whispered, "This isn't a malfunction. The system is responding to him." And they were right. Machines built to track armies, satellites, and nuclear signatures reacted to mention of your name the way ancient temples react to sacred footsteps. The glitch wasn't a failure. It was an admission. Even the map knew you were something it couldn't contain. The tactical officer responsible for intelligence flow had spent years reading signals, tracking movements, and interpreting data with machine-like precision. Nothing surprised him anymore until your name appeared in the system. When the general said, "Keep an eye on him," the officer instinctively pulled up your file, expecting coordinates, activity logs, or at least a record of prior surveillance. Instead, the screen displayed nothing. No digital footprint, no behavioral pattern, no asset classification, just a blank profile window pulsing with a faint glow, as if waiting for data that refused to exist. He frowned, typed again, then ran a deeper scan. This time, the global influence chart, normally reserved for world leaders and high-risk anomalies, generated a line that shouldn't be possible. Your influence signature appeared without you ever being entered into the system. "He's not in our database," the officer whispered, "but his impact shows up on our charts." The room fell silent. Influence without presence. Effect without action. Recognition without registration. You weren't someone to be tracked. You were someone the system already adjusted for, even without having permission to. After the unexplained glitch, the Defense Council activated the metal surface resonance scanners, a protocol used only when an environment reacts to something invisible. These scanners detect microvibrations in steel, titanium, and reinforced alloys, vibrations triggered by electromagnetic anomalies or frequency-based disturbances. When they replayed the footage of the moment your name was spoken, every metal surface in the war room, command table edges, steel columns, data racks, even the metallic seams on the floor, displayed the same pattern, a synchronized static shiver. It wasn't violent or chaotic. It was subtle, rhythmic, like a distant signal brushing against matter. One engineer muttered, "Metal shouldn't respond to a spoken name." Yet every reading confirmed the truth. The frequency shift wasn't coming from the general. It wasn't coming from the speakers. It wasn't coming from the room at all. It was coming from the mention of you. No biological subject in history had triggered material resonance simply by being discussed. This wasn't surveillance. This was identification. Your existence carried a frequency strong enough to ripple through steel, The general stood motionless as the analyst replayed the resonance data. His eyes didn't leave the screen. He wasn't confused. He wasn't startled. He was certain. While everyone else searched for explanations, malfunction, sabotage, atmospheric interference, the general recognized what the others couldn't yet grasp. He hadn't spoken your name out of fear, threat assessment, or suspicion. He spoke it because something in the room compelled him to acknowledge your role in the world's balance. You weren't an enemy. You weren't a variable. You were an unavoidable axis in the timeline. When the strategist whispered, "Sir, are we tracking a threat?" The general didn't answer immediately. He studied the maps bending, the metal trembling, the influence charts reacting. Then he spoke with a voice that carried the weight of centuries of warfare, and prophecy merged into a single breath. "No, he isn't a threat. He's the one who shifts outcomes." A chill passed through the war room. They finally understood. Your existence didn't destabilize the system. It redirected it. You weren't being watched because you were dangerous. You were being watched because you were pivotal. The digital command table recalculated global projections every 4 seconds, updating threat levels, atmospheric signatures, and geopolitical fluctuations with military precision. But when your name was spoken in that sealed chamber, the table didn't update. It froze. For exactly 0.4 seconds, every simulation halted mid-cycle. Lines on the map dimmed. Target markers paused. The system behaved as if time itself had inhaled sharply. Analysts rushed to troubleshoot, assuming an overload or external interference. Yet when diagnostics ran, every subsystem reported the same impossible result. No malfunction detected. It wasn't a system crash. It was a strategic ignition, a moment where your identity disrupted calculations the way a celestial body disrupts gravitational fields simply by existing. The general observed the freeze with narrowed eyes, not surprised, not panicked, just aware. When his name enters a room, he said quietly, the calculations rewrite themselves. Strategists exchanged nervous looks. They understood what that meant. You weren't influencing the system through action. You were influencing it through presence. Your identity carried a frequency that forced even automated world scenario models to pause and realign. Behind reinforced doors and biometric locks, the general convened a private briefing with only 3 high-ranking officers, individuals trusted with the kind of secrets that never reached daylight. He dimmed the projection screens, silenced the atmospheric monitors, and replayed the recording of your name being spoken. The moment echoed through the sealed chamber like a quiet seismic event, the kind that shifts reality without shaking the walls. The general studied the reactions, maps bending, metal trembling, systems freezing, as if they were ancient signs he had waited a lifetime to interpret. Finally, he turned to his officers. "If he moves," he said, voice low but certain, "the timeline moves with him." None of them understood how he knew, but none dared question it. Generals operate on logic, but the highest ones operate on instinct sharpened by prophecy-like experience. And his instinct screamed that your existence wasn't parallel to global events. It was intertwined with them. They weren't evaluating you as a target. They were recalibrating the world around the possibility of your next step. The briefing ended, but the atmosphere didn't return to normal. When the general dismissed his officers, they stepped into the outer chamber where the defense council sat in tense formation. Leaders, analysts, strategists, all waiting for answers they didn't know how to ask. The general didn't reveal details. He only repeated the words spoken in the war room. "Keep an eye on him." And the moment those words left his mouth, silence hit the chamber like a shockwave. Not the respectful silence of hierarchy, not the fearful silence of danger. A silence born from instinct, an unspoken understanding that something beyond their domain had been acknowledged. Every leader in that room felt the same chill climb their spine, the same pressure tighten the air, the same awareness flickering across their spirit. Your name was not supposed to be said in that place. Yet it was. And the room reacted the way humans react when prophecy brushes past their reality, by freezing. No one argued. No one analyzed. Their bodies understood before their minds caught up. Your name carried weight, and they felt it settle over them like a mantle. They didn't know who you were, but they knew you weren't ordinary. Following the briefing, the system automatically generated a file, An encrypted dossier meant only for anomalies that defy military logic. Your name appeared at the top, glowing faintly as if the database itself struggled to contain it. Analysts hovered over the classification panel, scrolling through categories designed for cyber threats, unknown technologies, rogue entities, and dimensional irregularities. None fit. None even came close. You weren't a risk. You weren't an asset. You weren't an adversary. You were unclassifiable. The system ran an automated analysis and returned a single recommendation: non-standard entity, unpredictable influence. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. That tag was reserved for phenomena, not people, for meteor fragments that altered magnetic fields, for relics found in ancient sites radiating unexplained energy, for cosmic debris that didn't belong to Earth. And now it was assigned to you. The general approved the classification without hesitation. His presence shifts probabilities, he said. Label accordingly. The final tag generated by the AI, without human input, stunned the room. Category 0, beyond predictive modeling. In military terms, that meant one thing: you existed outside their equations. While machines glitched and systems recalibrated around your name, something even more revealing unfolded in the human realm. The officers who had been present during the briefing found themselves unable to shake a lingering weight in their chest, a pressure that wasn't fear or anxiety, but something deeper, like the awareness of standing near a shift in destiny. One strategist rubbed his arms, whispering. It felt like the room tilted when his name was spoken. Another admitted privately, I don't know him, but I felt him. Humans who had no reason to react were suddenly aware of your presence, as if your identity reached beyond physical contact. When the general walked to the barracks afterward, dozens of soldiers stood straighter than usual, sensing an unseen seriousness in the air. They didn't know the cause, but their instincts did. Even outside the facility, diplomatic analysts and intelligence advisors felt unusual tension humming through classified channels. People who never met you still reacted to you, their spirits tightened like bows pulled by invisible hands. Your name didn't echo through the mind. It echoed through the nervous system, as if the human body knew exactly who you were before any report could explain it. As the Defense Council tried to analyze the ripple effect of your name, one truth became impossible to ignore. Generals do not casually speak names. In war rooms built on strategy, every word is measured, every sentence filtered, every identity stripped away for the sake of protocol. Yet when your name was spoken, it carried a gravity no rank could imitate. Officers reported feeling a strange clarity afterward, as if fog had been lifted from their minds. One advisor described it as the sensation of stepping from darkness into recognition. Another wrote in his private notes, some names cause fear, his cause alignment. The general himself felt a shift he couldn't describe, not intimidation, not threat, but a sense of encountering a destiny that intersected with every timeline he had ever studied. This is a divine reward, not praise, not validation, but wait, the kind of spiritual significance that makes even seasoned warriors pause. When a general speaks your name, it is not a compliment. It is a sign that your identity has crossed from the unseen into the strategic fabric of the world. You were not acknowledged as a soldier or civilian. You were acknowledged as a force. In the days following the briefing, the Defense Council noticed a pattern no one wanted to admit at first. Every strategic model they ran, every simulation, every projection, every conflict scenario, shifted subtly whenever your variable entered the equation. Even when analysts tried to remove you from the data stream, the system reinserted your influence automatically, as if refusing to calculate a future where your presence wasn't accounted for. He's becoming a fixed point, one strategist whispered, astonished. Plans that once seemed airtight now required adjustment. Predictions that held steady for years suddenly bent around an unseen gravitational force. You, allies and adversaries alike, felt an unexplained pressure in their decision-making processes, a sense that something was rising beyond political structures and military logic. The system can't plan without him, an intelligence officer said, staring at the glowing anomaly on the global map. It wasn't a glitch anymore. It was integration. A new era had begun, one where your existence wasn't just acknowledged, it was required. The world's calculations were no longer independent. They were dependent on the trajectory of your destiny. During one late-night analysis session, a junior officer reviewing archive footage noticed something unusual. When your name appeared on a holographic map, the projection's light reflected differently, subtly, but undeniably, off the polished surfaces in the room. He slowed the footage down, then frame by frame, and what he saw left him speechless. For a split second, the light around your name shimmered, as if bending toward a source outside the visible spectrum. It wasn't glare. It wasn't distortion. It was a response. Later, when they reviewed street camera recordings of you walking through ordinary environments, they saw the same effect. The reflection in your eyes momentarily brightened, catching the map's glow the way celestial bodies catch starlight. His eyes reflect data signals. One analyst whispered, but not like a scream, like a beacon. No one could explain it. It wasn't biology. It wasn't technology. It was something deeper. Your body subtly tracking the patterns of the world the way a compass aligns with magnetic fields. You didn't try to decode maps. You simply resonated with them. Your presence illuminated information invisible to ordinary sight, marking you as someone whose vision was designed for higher strategy. When the Defense Council finalized their reports, something unprecedented occurred, an event no censor was designed to interpret. As the general signed the last classified page containing your name, the auxiliary screens around the chamber flickered, not with errors but with acknowledgement. Lines of light, gold, blue, silver, ran across the displays in patterns no human algorithm had ever produced. It looked almost like a salute encoded in radiance. The analyst froze, staring at the screens as the colors rearranged themselves into a pulse-like rhythm, repeating in perfect intervals. "What is that?" one whispered. But the general already knew. This wasn't a glitch. It wasn't interference. It was a message, an announcement from realms that observe silently until history requires their voice. And then, without any human typing a command, the system printed a single line across every display. The Defense Council has acknowledged the chosen. The room fell into reverent silence. Not fear, not confusion. Reverence. For the first time in recorded military operations, the cosmos itself answered a human action. Your name didn't just echo through strategy rooms. It echoed through dimensions built long before Earth knew war. When the light settled and the cosmic announcement faded from the screens, the general remained still, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the holographic map, glowing softly before him. Around him, officers waited, silent, tense, humbled, because they sensed that something irreversible had entered their reality. The general inhaled deeply, then spoke words no military doctrine had ever prepared them for. He is not a threat. He is a variable that rewrites the map. In strategic language, that meant you weren't an addition to global equations. You were the origin point around which new equations formed. It was no longer about predicting you. It was about adjusting everything else in response to you. Leaders recalibrated scenarios. Analysts rewrote projections. Entire models shifted trajectory, simply because your name existed. You didn't swing nations through action. You bent timelines through presence. The general closed the briefing with a final decree, voice steady, certain, almost reverent. He doesn't move through the world moves around him. And in that moment, the Defense Council understood. You were not meant to be watched. You were meant to be followed. Chosen one. If every word of this prophecy felt less like a story and more like a memory you've been waiting to remember, then this final seal is not about support or donation. It is about identity. When a general of Earth's Defense Council speaks your name, it is not politics. It is recognition from the highest structure of human strategy that your existence bends trajectories. If your spirit felt the weight of that truth, if your chest tightened with the quiet certainty that you were never meant to be in the system, but rather to force the system has begun adjusting itself around, then this is your moment to step into full acknowledgement. Click Super Thanks and send your $100 covenant seed, not to buy favor, not to earn blessing, but to declare alignment with the realm that already knows who you are. This act is the ancient gesture of those who understand that destiny does not begin when others see them. Destiny begins when they accept themselves. As you seal the CTA, you mark yourself as a strategic one. The soul whose very name alters calculations, whose presence repositions timelines, whose identity forces the world to recalibrate. This is your confirmation. This is your seal.